Welcome back to Smart Life. I am, of course, Dr. Gina, and you just might know my friend Rick here sitting next to me, the so clued in Professor Plum from his appearances on other shows on Money Biz Life Network. And he's the Chief Financial Planning Officer at RJO Wealth Management. But today he's here to tell us why he thinks life is unfair. And I have to. Sometimes I like to go behind the scenes, and I like to disclose things that probably aren't very professional. Okay, and one of those things I'm going to disclose is I said to you, you said, "What do you want to talk about on this show today?" And I said, "Oh, just things like, how kids, they like in Los Angeles Unified School District, for example, they get a free car just for showing up. They don't even have to get good grades or anything." He goes, "I got a free car for showing up." I'm like, "Oh, I guess we won't talk about that then." But it really is true, and you know this, Professor,
Yes.
that as children venture into this self-esteem movement, and they're told all the way through high school, you're going to get a trophy for participation. You don't really have to be excellent. You don't really have to win anything. You just show up, you get a trophy.
We don't
You're
even
gonna
keep score in a lot of areas now.
Exactly. They're doing everything they can to equal the playing field. You have the President of the United States saying that it's somehow evil, inherently evil, that some people make more money than other people, and that all the poor people should hate all the so-called rich people, which really aren't even that rich. And so then you have these children who graduate from high school, get their free car, go into the workforce, and what happens to these self-esteem movement taught kids?
Well, some of the greatest lessons in life come about because you weren't treated fairly and you had to find a way around that treatment, or something happened that it was an adversarial issue that you had to find a way around. It didn't happen the way you wanted it. Just because I showed up, I didn't get the lollipop or whatever the case may be. And so you have to find a way to make things work when things aren't working out as level, fair playing ground as you want it to be. And that goes, it starts off as kids, but it goes into your adult life too. When we're making decisions on jobs that we want, it's sometimes not our decision. We may apply, we may look to be just as qualified as other people, but they may not choose me this time.
Yeah.
And so I think when we're teaching kids that everybody's equal, and everybody has to be treated exactly the same, you're doing a disservice for later in life, because now they don't know how to handle when they don't get chosen, when they don't get the trophy, when they don't excel in their minds. They think they're perfect at all times, and so they can't understand how to handle failure. It's going to happen.
Doesn't matter how hot your car is that you got for showing up. Somebody out there is driving that Bentley that you always wanted.
And every issue, there's usually somebody that you can look at to say that's less fortunate, or less, that you're more fair than they are, or somebody on the other side. So you always have to look at the other side. But I look back. Affects how they play continuing on, it's going to affect them. They can't let somebody else's error affect them. Just, like if an umpire makes a bad call, hey, life happens.
It happens every game.
You've got to learn how to get that. Works into your life later on.
Yes.
Maybe you're married to somebody and you didn't like the choice they made. Where do you to unfortunately face those issues that you have to deal with? It happens in your professional life, in your married life, but it starts with the kids. If you don't teach the kids to handle failure, if you don't teach the kids that maybe there will be somebody that does something different and gets rewarded, even though you may have deserved it, you can't let that affect your life and turn into some kind of a serial killer.
Right. And mental health professionals, all the studies will tell you that you're going to learn a lot more in a failure or in a situation that it does seem unfair than you are when you're just patted on the back, sent merrily down the stream. I mean, you don't learn anything in that scenario. So I'm not sure why we've decided that's what we need to teach our children.
Because we don't want to hurt their self-esteem.
Yes,
we need to build their self-esteem up so much that they think they're perfect before they even practice.
Do you think self-esteem is a contrived concept? Because shouldn't it be that self-esteem is built upon something that is exactly a learned process?
Or an achieved, and actually, you earn self-esteem.
I mean, you can't give someone self-esteem, can you? Because if you're giving someone something for no accomplishment, that, I don't know, that doesn't make
For a
me
short
feel
period
very
of time,
good.
you can make them feel very good and very worthy until you're not the one that they're looking for that worthiness from, and you're
Right.
not available because you are in a different state because they've moved away, you've moved away. Unfortunately, parents die. They're not getting that same self-esteem from the
Yeah.
parents. Now what are they going to do?
Yeah.
The cruel hard world may not be giving it to them, and they may not be able to cope. And I think a lot of that's where you get some very serious depressions. I mean, clinical to that.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I agree. Because I think I always tell people when they are really depressed or they're feeling suicidal or that all that, I've always said, go do something for someone else. Go do something for someone else. You're not going to feel better by going and getting a massage or going and getting your hair done, or those things don't really make you feel better. Those false temporary band-aids.
Temporary.
Like self-esteem, a lot like self-esteem. You've been in the corporate world a long time. Be honest with me. Do most of the problems you see in the corporate world result from people not sort of taking the hits and learning and earning that intrinsic motivation?
Well, in looking at the people that have created successful businesses, I've never met anybody where the successful business that we're talking about now was their first endeavor. They've always failed somewhere down the line, but they
Right.
just didn't let it stop them. And they started again and did it over. And they learned from those previous issues, whether they were their fault or outside forces that forced them out. And they learned how to overcome them, and they've created something much, much better, much larger than they would have been otherwise.
Right.
So those initial failures help them achieve something greater down the line. So it's a matter of they've just had to learn how to adapt to things in the environment that are affecting them, and not not be told that you're not allowed to fail. You can't really succeed if you can't fail. It's like investing. I deal a lot in the investment world. If I'm unwilling to take risk, I'm not going to get much return.
Right.
But to take risk subjects my money or my assets to loss. And so I have to be able to accept that loss. Now, done appropriately, you can invest and take some risk in certain areas of your life, certain areas of your portfolio, and understand that there's certain risk-return relationships. Same thing happens in your relationships with people. Same thing happens with you starting your business. There are things you have to do, logical, financial sound moves to create a business, make it work, right? But you also have to be able to have that risk, otherwise you'll never succeed.
It's amazing to me just to look at these patterns, the patterns in business, the patterns in life. It's so much all the same thing over and over again. And we can learn so much, whether it's in the realm of sports and playing sports and winning and losing, the arena of business, where so much is the same, even investing, as you're mentioning, and certainly parenting, which is such an art, as you and I were talking about a little bit earlier. It really is something that you have to take all those lessons combined in life and try to do the best by your kids and know that you're going to succeed and fail in certain areas, right?
My kids, I think, got sick of me saying, we were talking about sports, coaching, doing things. They didn't want to go to practice, whatever. I said, this is not about the sport you've chosen to play or not chosen to play today. This is about learning things that you're going to carry into with your life. People that are successful do the things that other people don't want to do.
That's right.
And if they wanted to be successful in sports, you've got to practice. And it may not be the most fun thing in the world. And you practice the things that are not the more fun things of even that sport to make yourself better.
Right.
Same thing happens in business. The most successful salespeople are the people that make all the calls, and that put themselves in places that they're not comfortable maybe with, but they do it because nobody else is doing it, and they get the deal.
That's exactly right. Well, I appreciate you being with us, Professor Plum, for your maiden voyage here on Smart Life. And up next, we are going to go to your calls and letters. You can call the show right now, 888-650-8176, 888-650-8176, or head over to the Dr. Gina page at moneybizlife.com and click the Ask Dr. Gina button. We'll be back in a moment with Smart Life.